eyes sex. Eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day. They're the eyes of a man whose lust knows no bounds.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Horny Creek. My name is Mark. With me as always is my wife. She's my wife now, Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Not as good as you, apparently. Hey, what's up?
How much has been a good week here? It's February 10th, 1999.
Were you like smoking some pot before we started recording? What is it? What gave you the giggles over there?
I wasn't smoking whatever Jack's smoking, I'll tell you that much. No, I was playing the intro and I looked over at you and you were just like staring. You were staring at me like, when are you turning off the intro?
So, no, I was just trying to remember the episode.
That makes it even better. Oh my God, I thought you were like staring at me like, how long are you going to let this intro go? And I was thinking, this is the normal amount of time I do the intro. Oh my goodness gracious.
I was just trying really hard to remember the episode, and all I could think about was last week's episode. But then when you mentioned Jack, now I remember.
Yeah. Jack plays a central role in this episode.
Yes, he does.
There's Jack and what's going on with him. There's Pacey, and that's heavily wrapped up with Jack.
Right.
There's Joey, and that's obviously heavily wrapped up with Jack. There's Dawson, and that's like Dawson. Some of the best episodes of Dawson's Creek are the ones where Dawson's barely in it.
Yeah.
Like Dawson's he has just a very little bit of stuff going on in the background. And then there's Jen.
And her churchy dude.
Yeah, and that's probably the main, like the only real secondary storyline. Because Andy's storyline is also all wrapped up in what Jack's going on.
So I guess we need to talk about Jack.
Even though I hate him, but am I gonna? I think even if what I suspect is happening, I think I'd hate him more, and not for the reasons that fucking horrible hate mongers out there might think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it is interesting. It's very interesting.
So Pacey is doing well in school.
He is. His counselor comes up to him and he's like, Mr. Whittle, I want to talk to you. And he's like, oh, whatever it is, I didn't do it. I'm a fuck up. And he's like, no, I'm here to give you kudos.
Yeah, because he's got I think he said 2 A's and 3 B's or something. Yeah. I'm assuming that he has a C or a D in this other class.
I don't know what he is.
He has to have more than 5 classes.
Right.
But he's super proud of him. He's like, keep up the good work.
You've been doing great, Mr. Whitter.
But then he goes to his English class, and everybody had to write a poem.
Yeah, first we open the opening of the actual episode, as always, is in Dawson's room.
Sure.
And Jack has constructed this beautiful model of the city.
Oh yeah.
Reconstructed houses, the houses of the creek itself, trees. It's gorgeous. And Dawson's there, and he's like, Jack, I gotta tell you, this is outstanding. I love it. You've really helped out a lot. And they kind of, there's a budding sort of friendship there,
right? But
also, they're being very careful around each other and everything.
Well, and Pacey's there too. And he has to go, and he's like, okay, so let's go there, Jack. And Jack's like, oh, I'm going to stay and help out Dawson more. And Dawson's looking get the fuck out of my room.
Right.
But, yeah.
He wants to see the test footage because he's doing test footage of, Dawson says with the right lighting and the right angles, it'll look like a beautiful exterior shot of the creek. Which, is true. That's how they do that shit.
Yeah.
But so they're having a decent time. When Pacey leaves, Jack says, I don't know what I'm going to do for this poem for my English class. He's like, you're the brilliant writer or whatever. I read your script. What do you think I should do? What do you think I should write about? Or how do you do that? How do you write well? And Dawson said, well, as a writer, my only advice to you is to write something personal, to bring something out of yourself. He says writing is a way to, allow people to see that a little bit into your personal life and everything, give them a little peek of stuff that we usually hide. So do that.
Yeah, maybe not the best advice to somebody who's hiding some shit.
Well, he doesn't know that, though.
Right.
So, yes, then they go to class, and Pacey's written his poem and
About a car.
ode to a Lamborghini or something like that. And he's like, it's much better than a Grecian urn.
And his teacher is an ass, and he looks
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah, he's a terrible person. But he looks at the penmanship on the poem or whatever and says that he has to rewrite it because presentation is part of the grade and it looks bad.
Yeah, he says presentation's half the grade.
Yeah. And my question here, too, is, like, later...
Is this a calligraphy class or an English class?
Right. Like, because it's the next day, I think, when the big issue occurs.
No,
it's the same day.
Same day.
Okay, so just a little bit later... when Jack
well, what happens is I'll bridge your knowledge for you a little bit. Don't look so cowed. I'll bridge your knowledge a little bit, and you can remember. Like the teacher is like being an asshole to Pacey, and he says you can rewrite it and turn it in tomorrow, or you can get half off by turning it in today. And the best grade you'll get is your old friend, Mr. D, or whatever. And, he's like, whatever, he's like an asshole and stuff. And the teacher goes back to class, and then Jack says, like he says something to Jack, like, he's fucking miserable or whatever. He's like, yeah, everybody hates this prick or something like that.
Yeah.
And the teacher goes, what did you say, Mr. McPhee?
Yeah, so...
And that's when he's like, why don't you read your fucking paper in front of the class?
So my question, though, is if presentation is half the grade, then you'd think that they'd be reading and presenting their poems. And, like, it seems absolutely ridiculous that it's half their grade when they're not. And it seems even more ridiculous that he's making one of them read and not everybody.
Because he's an asshole.
Yeah. He's a terrible person.
He made that up, that presentation's half the grade.
Yeah.
Because he wants to fail Pacey.
Yeah, he says that.
He says that later in the episode. He's been waiting to fail him.
Yeah. So Jack's like, oh, no, I'm not reading.
I don't want to read this.
No. And he makes him, like, he tells him, like, he will fail him, like, if he doesn't read it or whatever.
So he gets up and starts to read, and his poem is it's a good poem.
Yeah.
But it's about being afraid and something about the man in the mirror and, like, I don't know.
Being afraid of who he is or who he could be, and then, like, seeing him and then starts describing a man.
Yeah.
And that's as far as he gets. I don't think he actually finished the poem.
No, he runs off crying.
Yeah. So we're not really sure where it was going.
And Pacey tries to go talk to him, and he's like, sit your ass down, you piece of shit.
And Pacey's like, but he's crying.
He's like, I don't give a fuck.
So, yeah.
And Pacey does sit down.
And glares at him like he wants to kill him, which he deserves.
Yeah. But so that erupts.
Oh, yeah. And I'm remembering the next day now. Sorry, go ahead.
That erupts into a rumor that Jack is gay.
Yeah. Because he wrote a poem about a guy.
Now, here's the thing. His brother died.
Right. Like a year ago.
When he was first reading the poem, here are my initial thoughts. When he was first reading the poem, I was thinking he's writing about himself. He's writing about looking into the mirror, and it's all about, like, potential and being afraid of not fulfilling a potential or whatever. And then I thought, or it could be about his brother, because his brother's dead, and, like, all the things his brother could have been that never are going to be now. So, and the good art can be interpreted many different ways.
Right.
So when they were all saying he was gay, I'm like, that poem as he was reading it didn't seem romantic to me in any way. I don't know where they're getting homosexual from. So I was very confused. I was like, throughout the episode, I'm not very confused, but I was like, I guess that's typical high school. Like, that's where they would go with it or whatever. But it seemed ridiculous to me that was their thought.
Well, and later when Jack starts talking about what his poem is, he does say the things that you're saying. That he wasn't 100% sure what it was, but he was thinking these things. And
yeah, because so everyone thinks he's gay now, or apparently.
Yeah.
That's a big rumor going through school. And Dawson says something. He's talking to Joey because him and Joey are friends now or whatever. And he says, have you asked him about it? And she was like, what are you talking about? He's like, do you think it's possible he could be gay? And she's like, you're a real piece of work. You're a real piece of shit. You think that, you just want him to have some character flaw or something like that, like being gay, so that we break up, so that you have a chance at me or whatever. You're a jerk.
Which it's like not a character flaw and would be way more impactful on their relationship than a character flaw if he was gay.
Obviously, right.
I don't think that was the correct, terminology.
I agree. But yeah, he's like, well, you should know me better than that, Joey. I'm just like looking out for you or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the rumors are going around. Somebody actually paints fag on his locker.
Yeah, in big red letters.
Poor guy.
Should be pink, right? I mean, if you're gonna be a hate monger, I mean, do it right.
Right. And everybody's staring at him as he goes to his locker, and Joey just goes up to him. She's like, "Kiss me."
Well, yeah, because at the beginning of the episode, Pacey comes in, he's all happy and stuff like that, and he's like, "Oh my God, you've made such a change in me, Andy McPhee," and he spins her around, and they're making out in the hallway and stuff like that. And then Jack says something like, let's us kiss, and she's like, no, behind closed doors. That's
she's
what
like,
I
no
don't
public
do.
Displays of affection.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, that's when she goes up and she's like, kiss me, touch my boobs.
I think that was stupid because it's so obvious why they're kissing that it doesn't really prove anything.
No, I mean she's literally walked up to him. They talked for a second, and now they're making out in front of a locker that has fag emblazoned upon it. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what they're doing. But everyone in the crowd does go like, someone's like, he's not gay.
So yeah, it's stupid. And then the next day in class, the teacher wants him to finish the poem.
Yeah, he's like, you only did half. You only get half a grade. Finish the poem, you fucking fag.
What kind of a, fucking sadomasochist you have to be to do that to... Shut up.
Someone that pretends they like pain.
Right.
Oh, I like pain a lot. Well, here's a poker. No!
To do that to a high school student too. I mean, it's awful.
And he has to be aware that the rumors have been going around because it was the day before. So.
Yeah, he's probably going home and fucking jacking off about it. I swear to God, this guy is just vile.
Oh, McPhee, everyone thinks you're gay.
The power.
Oh, wow.
So Pacey jumps in to defend him.
Quite a horny episode. Now I guess thinking about it that way.
Pacey jumps in to defend him, and this guy, he's teacher,
like, I'll read it. You want someone to read it?
Yeah. He starts reading, and he's like, stop it, Mr. Witter. He has to read it, and then they get in each other's face, and the guy says I've been waiting to fail you, totally just mask off, just reveals how much hate he has for Pacey.
He's like, you're a fucking loser. You've always been a loser.
That's all you're ever gonna be.
Yeah.
And what did he say that caused him to do this?
He said something
that he was spitting in the face of.
Yeah, he says something to the fact or to the whatever of your presence here or whatever is spitting in the face of academia.
Yeah,
or the learning process or something.
And Pacey's like, no, this is spitting in the face of it.
Well, he spits and then he says that's spitting in the face of whatever, and then he leaves.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was just the best.
I loved it.
I mean, it would have almost been better if he'd punched the guy. I don't know.
Now, I hate spitting.
Yeah, agree.
When Roberto Alomar did his whole spitting on the umpire thing, disgusting, awful. I hate it. But
this guy deserved it.
If there's ever a person that deserved it, it's this guy.
Yeah. So now,
but maybe he was masturbating to that too. He's like, oh yeah,
ew. So
put me in my place. Pacey went. Pacey, whatever his last name is it Witter?
Witter, yeah.
McPhee and Witter, okay.
So now they're talking about Pacey has to apologize to this teacher or they're going to suspend him.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, okay, sure, he needs to be punished for spitting in a teacher's face. But what the teacher did,
he should be fired,
is so much worse.
Yeah.
And if they had allowed him, I don't know if they did, but I feel like they did allow him to explain what happened. Like, they have to know the context of what was going on. Mm-hmm. That this teacher should also be punished. They should have to at least apologize to each other. I mean,
he should be fired.
He should be fired. Agreed. But like, maybe he has tenure.
What he's doing is abuse to both these students. It doesn't matter if he has tenure, I don't think. I believe you can get fired even if you have tenure for extreme things like this.
Like abuse, yeah.
Yeah. Like, a teacher couldn't bring a gun to school, shoot one of the students, and be like, I have tenure. I mean, it's not a license to do whatever.
Right. But yeah, so they give him the night to think about it because he's like, I don't want to apologize to him. They're like, it's up to you, but you got to do this. Mm-hmm. So he comes back.
Well, do we want to talk about the conversations that happen that night or not?
Go ahead.
Because he speaks with several different people. Like, Andy is like, apologize, just fucking apologize to him. And he's like, no, I'm not going to apologize to that piece of shit. And she's like, you're going to ruin everything that you have built. Like, you're not going to be able to survive a week suspension with all the work you put in to school. By the way, why? Like, he gets suspended, he also misses all his work. Doesn't his work come home with him?
I don't know.
I think that's part of the suspension, right? Like, people bring him his work or whatever, and like, he's got to do it and turn it in still.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. I've never had an out-of-school suspension. I've only had in-school suspension where your entire day is in a classroom doing homework.
Wow. Bad girl over here.
Right.
Anyway, so I don't know, but it seems like he should still be able to keep up with his schoolwork. But she wants him to do it, and so does Dawson.
He also asks her during that conversation, though, how she would feel if it were true. Mm-hmm. And she said she'd be disappointed. Yeah, she'd be disappointed with Jack. If he were gay. For being gay. And then they try to have a conversation about that, and she's all like, I don't want to fucking defend myself here, But he's not gay. He's only ever talked about girls. So then he talks to Dawson. Mm-hmm. Dawson, same thing. Dawson's like, he's not as vocal about it. He doesn't care if Jack's gay or not, but maybe he does. I don't know. Well, yeah, he probably wants him to be gay. But he's not as vocal and not as like whatever about it. But he indicates like it's you just knuckle under and do it. Yeah, I mean that's 100% what Dawson would do. Dawson never would have spit in this guy's face to begin with, sure. But if he did, that's what he would do. He would just apologize. Yeah, he would just do whatever. So, any other conversations that were had here that we need to discuss? Not that I can think of. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything because I keep trying to go ahead of you. So. Okay. All right. So, the next day, he does apologize for spitting in his face. Kind of. He qualifies it that, he's not sorry for the intention behind it and that he has no respect for this teacher as a person. And he shouldn't. Right. And they still suspend him, which I think is bullshit. I feel like he did what they asked. He apologized for spitting in his face. Yep. Now, if he had some other shit to say that he said in a pretty respectful manner, really, I don't think he should have been suspended. I think that was wrong. And I think they need to fire this teacher. Yeah. Like, why is nobody paying any attention to what this teacher did? I have no idea. I mean, look at the consequences. They have to be aware of the fag on the locker thing, too. Like, that's a result of this teacher's actions. I would really like to... I mean, the show focuses very much on the kids and everything, obviously. We don't need to go into a storyline where it's like we just see the principal and the teacher and the, that point of view or anything like that. But I'd love someone to even have a throwaway line of, hey, yeah, the teacher got, either fired or he got, put on 6 months probation or suspension or from the school or whatever, while they investigate. I mean, they could file charges against the teacher. Yeah. I mean, he told the students, they bring this up, that he told them that the poems were just for him. Now, why, and somebody said that to him too, why would you expose yourself to this guy? Right. no matter what. I mean, knowing you're writing it for him, even you don't tell him anything.
But Jack's pissed off at Pacey too.
Yeah.
Jack's like, nobody, I know it's a fucking habit with you or whatever, but nobody asked you to stand up for me. And he's all pissed off about the whole situation.
Which is very unfair.
I agree, because he's trying to help him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's offended that Pacey stepped in on his behalf because he doesn't want people to think he can't fight his own battles, I guess.
And Andy and Pacey are arguing because Andy wants him to just knuckle under, and he says she's not there for him or whatever. And they have this whole fight conversation. I guess it is a conversation before he decides to do what he's going to do, where they're at the pier, and she's like, he goes, you're not there, you're not supporting me or whatever. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? I disagree with you about one thing, and it's like I'm not supporting for you or whatever. But I was on Pacey's side in this conversation. There's a difference between not agreeing with him, like our relationship, right?
Yeah.
We disagree with each other sometimes.
Sure.
But you can still support someone and disagree with them.
Yeah.
You can say, that's not how I would do things. I don't necessarily agree with what you're doing, but I will stand behind you with what decision that you want to make.
Exactly. But that is not how she did it.
No. So, yeah, I was on Pacey's side with that. And then we get the flip side of that, where Dawson is sitting with him in the office outside right before he goes in. And Pacey's like, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to apologize or whatever. And Dawson's like, yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do. And he was like, what if I can't, Dawson? What if I go in there and I can't do it? Will you be disappointed in me? And Dawson says, Pacey, no matter what you do in your life, I will never be disappointed in you.
Which is such a good friend.
Yeah, and that's the support that he wants.
And that's what he should have from his girlfriend.
Right.
So, I guess that's really the storyline that ends there, though. He kind of apologizes and still gets suspended.
That part of it, sure. But then there's Joey's part of it with all this going on.
Sure.
She has two sort of impactful scenes, including the last scene, which recontextualizes everything for me. Mm-hmm. Because, so she asks him about it, and as you alluded...
Because Dawson tells her to.
Right. And as you alluded to, she's like... She doesn't say, are you gay? She says, why did you write that? People think you're gay now. Why did you write that? And that's when he's like, I don't know, maybe I was writing about me, maybe I was writing about my brother, blah, 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 blah. And then she thinks about it. She apologizes to Dawson after the fight they have. And she's like, you know what? You were right, Dawson. You're just looking out for me. And she's like, maybe I'm just afraid that it could be true or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she says... I never actually asked him the question outright, though. So they're at the ice house, and he's talking about something else, and she goes, are you gay?
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm sorry, I had to ask it before, I lost my nerve or whatever, but I really need to know if you're gay. And he says no.
Yeah.
He's not gay.
And he's really cool about it. He wasn't mad or anything.
And they hug. And as there's something, and maybe it's something the actor is doing that tips me off to this. As he's saying no and everything, I'm thinking, wait, is he gay? And then all of a sudden I remembered they didn't have sex because he couldn't get hard.
Right.
And I was like, fuck, maybe he is gay.
Yeah.
And then he hugs her, they hug, and he has this look on his face like he's lying.
Yeah.
Like he's covering
anguish.
Something up.
I mean, literally, to me, it seems like just anguish that he's lying, that this isn't true, and how is he going to do this?
So I think he might be gay, which makes me hate him more. Not because he's gay, but because if you're fucking gay and you're trying not to be gay, he's trying to be something he's not, why did you choose somebody else's girlfriend?
Okay.
If you don't fucking care because you're gay and you're not really attracted to them, why did you ruin someone else's relationship? Just go out with Jen, who they tried to set you up with. Just try to cover up your gay tracks with someone that's not in a relationship.
Okay, who says that he's covering up his gay tracks or that he doesn't care? He may not have realized that he was gay until he wrote that poem. He might not have realized he was gay until he tried to have sex with her and he couldn't. These are young kids. Like, he's
guess.
still figuring it out.
I guess.
So I don't think that he had nefarious plans. Like, he probably thinks Joey is beautiful.
He had nefarious plans either way.
Well,
because
okay.
He broke up a relationship.
Okay. But he probably thinks she's beautiful. He probably really likes her. And he probably didn't realize that that wasn't the same as wanting to fuck her.
Maybe.
I mean, that's my guess. I don't know.
You might be right.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he's not gay. We really don't know for sure yet, but it definitely seems like they're pointing in that direction.
Either way, it makes me even more angry that he's not like, I want to be with Joey or whatever, so I'll just steal, Dawson's girl. Like, I don't know. The whole thing just makes me mad.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sucky that their relationship was broken up if it was over somebody who doesn't really want her. I understand what you're saying.
Exactly. But yeah, and then Andy finally kind of like apologizes to Pacey, and she's like, she talks to him about like, why did you have to spit in his face? Why did you, why were you defending him? All this other stuff. And then finally Pacey like breaks down, starts crying, and he's like, because it's my fault. Mm-hmm. Everything that happened is my fault. I was talking to him, and like he knew he couldn't get a rise out of me, so he went to your brother, and yeah.
Yeah, so Pacey feels responsible, which is silly.
Mm-hmm.
It's this terrible teacher's fault, not his.
Yep.
And then the other storyline that's going on.
Well, she also then says, like, hey, if he's gay, it's okay with me.
Yeah.
She gets over it.
Well, that's good.
Because he's probably gay. The show is telling us he's probably gay. But yeah, the whole time I was thinking, like, this is so dumb. Why does anyone think he's gay? And he probably is.
We also don't know how the poem ends.
That's true.
I think that would probably add a lot of clarity.
The poem ends with hot anal sex. Anyway, go ahead.
So the other storyline is Jen dating that guy who took her last week on their first date to a freaking Bible study.
Right.
And he's like begging her for a second chance. And like, he's like, that's just one part of me. That's not all I am. And
he does this thing that people do in TV and movies that they portray as endearing, and I think in real life is anything but endearing.
Okay.
Where he calls her and he's like, hey, I want to go out with you. And she's like, no. And he's like, I'm persistent though. And she's like, okay. And hangs up the phone, and he immediately calls her back and he's like, told you I was persistent. I want you to go out with me. No. And then she hangs up on him, and then he immediately calls her back. And she's like, you are persistent. Like it's cute or endearing. And she's like, fine, I guess I'll go out with you. And it's like, no, that's not cool.
Right.
That's like stories you hear back in the 30s. Like, I went to her house and I pitched woo every single day because she said, no, I don't want to be with you. And then in 6 months I wore her down, and then I got her pregnant with you, and now we live happily ever after. And she's just sitting in a corner drinking alcohol.
Right.
Regretting every life decision.
So he does wear her down, and she agrees to go out with him.
It's harassment masquerading as romance.
Yeah, agreed. It's really bizarre to me, though, because what happens is he takes her to a jazz club.
Yeah.
Where it appears he's a regular because they know him there. They serve them alcohol because he orders them martinis.
Even though they're supposed to be 16.
Yeah, and he doesn't even show ID. And he's like, well, I don't go to church every day.
He's like, I'm a young little Frank Sinatra.
Like, what the hell, man? Like, a first date is when you're trying to show somebody, like, an idea of who you are, but put your best foot forward. Mm-hmm. If you know how she is,
right,
which he had some idea, why would you choose, hey, I'm going to take her to church with me instead of take her to the jazz club on the first date?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that would have gone much better for him.
It's really weird.
Very weird. And like, if he's the kind of dude who goes to church 3 days a week, it doesn't really make sense to me that he's out drinking at a jazz club anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, he's like, oh, I do this so that I can, confess on Sunday or whatever.
Yeah, it gives me a reason to go to church.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm bipolar.
I really don't like the whole thing.
Yeah, it seems like he's a split personality. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
Not that people that go to church can't also have fun. Obviously they can. But
And they're not perfect, and that's what he says. You know, I'm a Christian, but I'm not perfect, which is true. Like, I'm a Christian, and I'm not perfect. I get that.
right.
But I also don't go to church 3 times a week.
No.
Maybe once.
Right. We also don't go to 40s jazz clubs either, though.
But I would.
As much as I like.
That would
As
be
much as
fun.
I want to.
They were swing dancing. That looked cool.
Yeah. Exactly. They were dancing to some real big fish. Or whatever. I don't know.
So what do you think's going to happen? You think they're going to get together?
Yeah.
Like, stay together?
I'm for a little while. The guy that looks like adult version of Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a little while. I don't think he's long for the show, but
I wonder if he's going to get her to go to church.
I don't know. He's going to take her to church. She's an atheist, though.
Yeah.
Which she has not brought up to him.
No, but she did point out that, like, if you're the kind of guy who goes to church 3 times a week, then our relationship doesn't have a future because our values are different.
Yeah.
I don't think she's flat out says she's an atheist, but, I mean, she's right.
Yeah, exactly. But it's free alcohol, so I guess, you know.
Free alcohol and swing dancing.
Maybe he'll have sex with her. Maybe he won't.
We'll see.
Maybe he's waiting till marriage. We don't know exactly. I mean, like, I guess, like a lot of Christians, he's a hypocrite.
Wow.
No offense, Christians.
I'm offended.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, I'm a Christian too, technically. So,
Technically.
well,
What an interesting way to say
I'm
that.
also a hypocrite.
Yeah. We all are. Anyway,
But anyway, yeah, I guess that's the episode, though.
it is.
All right, so tell people things.
So you can write us at
I love that you need me to
latefee1994
say
at
that.
AOL.com.
Tell people things to know what to do.
Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com
Yeah.
and share the tapes with your friends.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.